University snubs conservative speaker Ben Shapiro, gets bad news from donor. The University of Minnesota followed in the footsteps of many other liberal colleges when they canceled the meeting with conservative Ben Shapiro. Now, they are learning the hard way that it doesn't pay to censor the right. We hear a lot about liberal colleges these days. Once centers for higher learning, they have become left-wing cesspools. Students who attend are bombarded with liberal propaganda. More often they come out dumber than they went in. Thankfully, that's not true for all students. There is a growing movement among college Republicans. These groups exist on many university campuses. They meet, discuss real issues, and share conservative politics with their classmates. They even hold major events and invite influential conservative speakers to talk at the school. With the election of Donald Trump, these groups have been fired up like never before. Many college-aged Americans are embracing conservative thought and values. As you can imagine, liberal college professors are freaking out. Major universities have decided to persecute these students, finding new ways of censoring their freedom on campus. One such school was the University of Minnesota. Young America's Foundation organized a speech with Ben Shapiro, conservative writer and radio host. Shapiro is a well-known fixture on college campuses. The event should have been a big success, but the school shut it down. Now, a top donor has decided to take their money elsewhere. The University of Minnesota has lost a major donor over its handling of an on-campus lecture by conservative commentator Ben Shapiro. Shapiro's speech, which was organized by Young America's Foundation, was supposed to take place on the university's main Minneapolis campus on February 26. When event organizers attempted to reserve a lecture hall that had previously been used by liberal speakers like former Senator Al Franken, Democrat Minnesota, and Senator Elizabeth Warren, D-Mass, their requests were denied. In protest, an anonymous university donor pulled their annual contribution and will instead give the money to the on-campus chapter of Young America's Foundation. In a letter to University of Minnesota President Eric Kaler, the donor wrote this was clearly a case of discrimination. The school claimed they could not let Shapiro speak out of safety concerns. That's one of the ways colleges refuse conservative students. They claim the protests that would occur as a result of Shapiro's appearance would lead to violent rioting. Yet they weren't worried about that when liberal speakers attended. Some schools even go as far as charging the conservative groups tens of thousands of dollars for security fees. The school knows they can't afford it. Shapiro did end up speaking at a smaller venue several miles away. Even though it was standing room only, there was no incident. A few peaceful protesters gathered. Where was the security concern? It was bogus, because the school didn't want a noted conservative speaking on campus. He might, gasp, teach students something. Maybe a few of their brainwashed liberals will change their mind. We can't have that. The donor dropped the hammer on the school, exposing their hypocrisy. I believe the treatment of Ben Shapiro was clearly a case of discrimination. It was not discrimination by race or gender. It was more damaging than that. You have discriminated against the free dissemination of ideas. The question then becomes why you discriminate against conservative thought. My simple theory is that the administration and faculty of our major bodies of higher education are fearful. They are fearful that once people like Ben Shapiro speak about their conservative ideas, the students will begin to understand a simple fact. It is the fact that they have been exposed to only one way of thinking and thus will be furious over having spent so much time and money only to find out that they have been essentially brainwashed. Source: Fox News. This has been a growing trend across the country. As liberal colleges become more and more hostile to conservatives, alumni donors are pulling out. They are shocked to find these once great institutions suppressing thought and discriminating against different points of view. Why should they give their hard-earned money to places like that? And trust me, schools are panicking. While they get plenty of money from tuitions and government grants, they need those donations. Colleges are super expensive to run and their bloated faculty demands high wages. If more and more donors pull out, they will have trouble keeping the lights on. Maybe they'll reconsider their toxic policies.